Next up, we have NDIKiwaTunGo versus Aaron, both playing as GDI, and we got ND playing as the gold GDI and Aaron playing as the blue GDI. Mirror matchup on Tournament Desert should prove interesting. I've had some interesting GDI mirror matchups on Tourney Desert in my time. I think it's probably the best matchup you can hope for on Tourney Desert as a GDI player. But let's see. We got ND spawning on the top as the gold GDI, and we got Aaron on the bottom as the blue GDI. Aaron opting to move his Conyard straight away. Looks like he's going for a more corner-based deploy. This will help him if he wants to do a crawl up towards the top right. Bit of a delay stutter there. Bit unlucky. Meanwhile, ND going to insta deploy. Power plant in the back. Using it to leverage a ref close to the tib here. All an interesting idea. What I think he's going to end up doing is getting 2 ref here, and it's going to mine out this stuff super quick, so you're not really doing yourself favors for the mid to long game. Meanwhile, Aaron's gotten his racks up. We've seen a racks up here. Both players getting their skates out. A couple of minigunners. They don't want to overcommit and spend too much cash on grens, even though they are faster. Sometimes it can be worthwhile to invest in a few of them, as we're seeing Aaron do here. Grens, of course, do have the downside of being terrible anti-scout units. They will miss so much of their shots. But Aaron here is up to 2 ref. We're seeing ND doing something similar, up to 2 ref. Getting his 3rd ref here now. Problem with this is going to mine out super quick, and then be long distance mining. Whereas down here with these spread out, this one will be taking this chunk, this one will be taking this chunk, this one will be taking this chunk. It's going to be much more efficient in the mid to late game, but we'll see how it plays out. So 3 ref. Also worth noting here, Aaron's got all of his grens in some pretty interesting anti-scaling positions. It was well rehearsed. He's clearly practiced this a lot. He definitely doesn't want his opponent getting through. This is a heavy investment, however, in anti-scouts, I would say. Like, it's one thing not wanting your opponent to see, but it's a lot of units just sitting idle and not doing anything, considering each one of those is 160. Meanwhile, compare that to ND, who's only just got a couple of minigunners out in the field and in semi-reasonable positions. If you want to try and block anti-scouting in a more effective way, you can try and put it just in these key chokes rather than having to spread them out like this. But we see here from ND, he's got the forward war factory, ballsy move. Can use this as part of his crawl over towards the right, I suppose. Meanwhile, Aaron's gone for 4 ref, while ND's still on 3. And we're seeing the crawl over towards the right. So it looks like this is probably going to be 4 ref, 2 war factory from Aaron. Meanwhile, ND's going for 3 ref, war factory, expanding over here for 2 more refs. It'll be 5 ref, maybe a second war factory then. Be curious. And there's the first war factory going down for Aaron. ND does actually have vision of it. All the places that Aaron could have positioned it, that was not necessarily the best one, because he can likely target this. Would have preferred Aaron to put it down here where he knows his opponent doesn't have vision. Meanwhile, Aaron can't see ND's war factory, but he's seen the Humvee coming to his base, so he should be aware it's coming. He's building so many grens that are just sitting idle here. Curious how that's going to work in his favor. It will be a bit of a headache for ND to get past this and see what's going on here, but as he can already see the 1 war factory, he should know what's coming. Construction complete. But ND's all the way up to 5 ref now, producing the medium tanks. So even though Aaron's got 4 ref, ND's now got 5, and he's split across 2 tib fields, which is going to be significantly better. We see a small gren push here from Aaron, but ND's on top of it. He's got a racks here in the top right. He's going to use these to try and hold the line here, which is perfect. This is a tricky position now for Aaron, because if he can't secure this tib field, the eco is going to play heavily against him. And it looks like Aaron's going all in now at this point. So he's selling the Conyard, so 4 ref, 2 war factories, send it. It's going to be tough. If ND can hold out here, he's in a good position. He just needs to make sure not to get overrun. Aaron is floating 3k, so he's going to have to keep continuously pumping grens and medium tanks and sending them with this wave, or else it's not going to work out. The grens here along the side aren't quite doing the job I think that Aaron hoped that they would. This is ND being aware and putting the racks on this side to help reinforce it. We see huge piles of grens back here in Aaron's base. Be curious when they come and decide to flood in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tanks here. We've got 3 tanks in the fence, a bunch of grens. And we're seeing grens are starting to move out. So he's using a couple of tanks and grens this side, and he's also bringing a wave of grens on the right hand flank, which are going to actually get a couple of refs over there, it looks like. while ND is busy trying to hold us off. This is somewhat holdable. There is starting to be a lot of tanks here though. I don't know. We're seeing Orcas starting to go from ND. Okay, it's a little bit late, I would say. You probably want those a bit earlier. Ideally maybe after your 5th ref. And a couple of rocketmen too, to try and do some damage to the tanks. ND has done well to only lose the 1 ref on this side. So he's held this. He does still have the Orca. He's likely to lose the War Factory here. Again, the positioning of this War Factory, I'm not sure what that was about whatsoever. I'd like to have seen a more defensive position back here. We're seeing 2 Orca coming up. Again, the Orca positioning could be a little bit better. Put it in like more secure positions so they can't easily get sniped. As you'll see here, these will probably come in and take this out. But ND's doing a good job of holding on here now. And as you can see, Aaron's broke and he has no Conyard. So long as ND holds out, he can win this. Losing both of his Orcas. A lot of Grens in the field. When it comes to infantry versus tanks, you're almost better going minigunners here instead of Grens, so you don't have to wind up. ND spamming, but his Grens are all coming out over here and not over here. He needs to primary these Raxes. I think the one that he did with primary died, so it goes to his second last built one, which is all the way back there. Unless he deliberately primaried this to deal with these Grens, which is also a possibility. Aaron, interestingly, not going for the Conyard. Maybe he's too afraid that ND will actually sell if he goes for the Conyard. But he's going back for Orcas, so this is exciting. It's good to see. ND holding his own at this point. He has the eco still gradually coming in. Aaron floating 1200. He sold one of his war factories, so that gave him an extra bump. Aaron going to try coming this side, but ND's going to hold it. Okay, Aaron now seeing the opportunity to go for the Conyard. He's taking it. Wants to stop the construction of any more Orcas. And down goes the Conyard. At that point, it's probably now going to fall into Aaron's favor. ND only being able to produce mass infantry versus infantry and war factory here. It is worth noting though that the eco of Aaron is in a bad position right now. This is very low. These are mostly mining grey tube. Whereas you can see up here, ND has access to this tube as well as all of this still. So in a much healthier position. Just gonna get a few of these tanks. Just needs to watch his halves don't die here. They're very important to keep alive. This is the edge that he currently has. It's not the end of the world if he loses one of these, but like you don't want to lose both of them. You want to stay a half ahead. This is a bit of a silly engagement. It's not really going to do much for ND over here. And at this point, it's looking pretty grim. You can't lose this ref. Because again, that totally cuts off like access to this tip. And you don't lose these refs because it cuts off access to this. Whereas Aaron is now bled dry. He's on $0. The harvesters you'll see will keep mining the shitty grey tib that come out of these blossoms unless you micro them over to this field, which looks like it's just what Aaron's done. So good awareness there from Aaron. ND meanwhile struggling to keep this ref alive. Come on, ND. Hold the line. Might be able to save this. It's going to be tight though. I don't know. Again, if these were minigunners, it'd be a little bit more effective. We're seeing Rocket Man come out. We're seeing ND push down the right flank. He's actually going on the counterattack now for the first time all match. And this is really scary for Aaron because he's got no cash. The Hares are on their way in though, so he's going to get a couple of Grens up pretty shortly. There was a window here, I think, where ND could have pushed in, but he doesn't, of course, have vision of what's in here, so he does have to be careful.
Building. Unit lost.
And now at this rate, ND can gradually grind into this because these are long distance mining, or else they're stuck here getting the great tib, whereas he's still taking advantage of this tib and this tib. Just needs to watch out for these two medium tanks, and if you can get those medium tanks, then he's in a really good position to push in here. Needs to get these grants, however, back into the game, bring them all the way down here. Not sure what ND is thinking right now. He needs these grants down here, and these can all push in and overrun this. ND's busy, I guess, dealing with this. He chased the tank all the way back to his main base. ND's definitely in the winning position right now. Seeing huge amount of grants being pumped out here. Would like to see minigunners mixed into it. Of course, the Harves are now coming back, so around this time you're going to expect the Aaron here to be able to produce units. It looks like he's going for Humvees, interestingly enough. Can micro the Humvees against the grants here. Should get some decent results. And we're seeing a flood of grants here and a flood of grants here from ND. Looks like this is his all-out attack. It would be nice if he went for the War Factory here. Should be able to get it no problem. There's nothing defending it. Despite Aaron's earlier great line of gren defense, he's totally lost it. Now he's got no War Factory. So he's got no War Factory. He's only down to infantry. He's got 2 ref versus ND, who's on 3. And he's got the double spread as well. Tib is starting to gradually grow back over here though. Aaron does have a halted harvester as well, so that's worrying. Aaron's starting to use the Humvee here a little bit. ND's busy microing over here. Seeing the next flood of grens coming in. And how's it looking? It's going all in. Stick these on guard mode. Don't chase the Humvees. Don't let them bait you. Oh, indeed. Okay, this is good. They also accidentally got the harvester in the mix here, which is unfortunate. It's going to affect his eco. This is really good. Aaron is 100% in the back foot here. The other thing that ND can actually do now is pay attention to where these harvesters are going and put a few grens over here to take them out. That would be nice. Don't get baited by the Humvee. Don't get baited by the Humvee. Alright. So ND now not committing. Put them on guard mode. Oh my god, let them just pursue these units. We can see the next wave of units here is building up. All the Harves are now taking full advantage of the side field. Bar 1, which is still over here. This is good. ND needs to be careful with this Humvee. Pile of grens here, just kind of doing nothing for the moment. And it looks like Aaron's managed to hold this off. Primarily due to ND having really bad engagements and getting screwed over by the Humvee micro there. It's pretty nice. And it looks like ND is switching to more defensive positioning here. No, he's opting to put them in. Okay, good man. I was going to say, it doesn't really benefit him to sit back at this point in the game. Like, he needs to keep being aggressive and not get abused by these Humvees. Ooh, nice glitched animation. Some more grens coming in this way. It is very annoying in GVG to deal with grens versus grens, especially when your opponent has defensive grens, because you have to position your grens in a position that can hit them, whereas their grens stay static and can just shoot you as you approach them. We're seeing the 2 Humvees actually being put to use here. He could block the refs with them, or take out the power while he's distracted down here. And it looks like ND's actually opted to send his grens toward the Harves here. This is a big deal. It's the right choice if he can try and pick them off, but he doesn't want to get lured into all these grens. No! And also deal with this. He's gonna lose all these grens. Pull back! Nice. Doesn't want to lose the power here. He's sending his grens over. This is good. Looks like he's gonna save it. Okay, okay. This is looking alright. This is looking alright. Don't lose all these. Don't lose them all. No! Squished. ND is keeping Aaron busy, which is good. He's sending in a flood of grens here. He's got a flood of grens that can come in down here. There's actually not a huge amount of defenses here, so this gren force should be able to take out these 3 and possibly get a ref as well. There's still a tank involved. We're seeing the lone Humvee here from Aaron. He's probably going to try block this ref with it. Seeing the Grens rush back to deal with it. ND getting these ones in position to do more aggressive push. Yeah, here they come. They're going to get it. Nicely done, ND. Meanwhile, he's been dealing okay over here. This is the only tank left on the field for Aaron. ND has a huge force of Grens up here. This is looking more and more like ND's game. Aaron is hanging in there. I don't know how. He can choose to remicro these back on this tip. There is quite a fair bit here in his base. It'll save him losing harvesters to this kind of aggression. Which is good play from ND. He spotted early on that he needs to control the eco, and he's taking care of it now. Aaron, of course, doing the same here, getting this loose harvesters is well played. Some good counter eco play. ND force firing his Grens here, not quite sure if it's having the effect he thinks it does. But it's definitely keeping him distracted. There is this tank still floating about here, so this could come in, block this ref entrance, and possibly get the ref or a harvester. A harvester squish some of the units here. We're seeing ND. ND can just engage this, he doesn't need to be this cautious with it. ND sending a group of Grens over towards this side. Focus on the harvesters again. Nice. You can see from the unit kills count, Aaron does have significantly more units killed, but ND is looking to be in the more favorable position here. Needs to get these Grens dead. He's being way too passive sitting back this much. Because every time these harvs come back, it's going to be an extra wave of units he has to deal with. He needs to be leveraging the fact that he is more split refineries, but at this point in the game, the tib's mostly gone from here and here. Whereas you can see, because Aaron's actually on less harvesters at this point, the tib regrowth is kicking in pretty nicely. Also, these harves are glitching. This one should be going to this ref. It's unfortunate. It screwed Aaron's eco. And we're seeing Aaron return to his earlier state in the game, where he's having the Grens infantry very carefully spread out in this defensive positioning. He just needs to make sure to protect his harvester, because that seems to be what ND is throwing his stuff at. And I think ND is running a little bit out of steam here. He did have the upper hand, but now Aaron's just managed to get so many free eco trips back and forth that there's now a huge amount of Grens on the field that ND has to deal with. Because he's been so aggressive all game, ND's just been able to keep picking away at it defensively. Or because because ND's been so aggressive, Aaron's been able to just basically sit back and keep alive while ND is throwing all of his cash away with some of those really bad engagements. Well, it looks like Aaron's going to get the ref here. Ooh, that's going to hurt. He's doing some serious damage with these Grens. Holy shit. Taking full advantage of the fact that ND has got nothing really here in defense. Not having access to that ref means that stuff's going to be long distance mining from here all the way over to here. Would have been nice to see ND also micro his harv, so instead of taking the shitty tib on the top left, they were taking some of this. But again, the tank was here to help deal with that, which is now moving up, interestingly. ND, of course, now on the back foot, it looks like. Does have a wave of Grens here. You see the medium tank moving up. He's going to be able to camp this, maybe get a free harvester. ND's just sitting here with these units. Like, he doesn't really have the time to waste. And as you can see here, the medium tank is going to be doing some damage. And Aaron going on the counter attack straight down the middle. No questions asked. He gets the power here. It just absolutely obliterates ND's production speed. So it's a nice target to go for, and it's not being defended at the moment. At least not by a lot. He has spotted the harvester coming in for the crush and managed to avoid it. It was nicely spotted. While this is going on, ND has a bunch of Grens over here. He's going to put into action, it looks like. Aaron's going to get these two power plants now, and that's going to cripple ND's production speed. And at this point, I think it's Aaron's game, because he can just have these harves happily reharvest this grown tib. ND doesn't. ND has a bunch of units, but they're not really doing anything. Like, he has the exchange going on over here, but his aggressive units here are just kind of in a standstill. Again, nice GVG games that go on like this tend to very much come down to the GVG micro. Aaron resecuring that tib field. There's a load of grens here, whereas ND's harvesters are now having a rough time. They're mopping up this grey tib here. He doesn't really have access to this field because of the tank, so these are going to have to go towards the middle fields. And ND is currently trying to secure them with a bunch of grens here, but Aaron's all around this one for the most part. So this is his best hope. As we can see, he has chosen to redirect his harves, but Aaron is actually pushing into this quite cleverly, knowing that that's the only tib he has access to, and he's going to try snipe the harv. ND spotting this, but it's possibly too late. He's going to get the snipe. Is he gonna get the snipe? Ooh, very close. He's gonna get the harv. Damn. Looks like Aaron's sending on a bunch of grens over towards the left hand side. He's trying to deal with this medium tank. Aaron's sending up a bunch of grens towards the center. He's going to take this tank out, so he'll resecure access to this field once he kills these grens. But Aaron's got so many grens here about to kick in. Aaron resecured the center. Again, these units are just sitting here doing nothing for most of the game. Has a bunch of grens here he's currently building. These are the key choke points that you really want to be watching, especially even from the early game. As you can see now, it's becoming really important. Two harves are coming back up. You'd want to redirect them towards here, since these are no longer under ND's control, and looks like he has. Aaron's just got so many grens here at the moment. This engagement is probably in Aaron's favor, considering how the exchanges have gone for the majority of the match. And he's going to take control, forcing ND back so he can no longer use this tib field. Which means he has to go for this one, which he also can't really use, which means he has to go for this one. Which I'm guessing Aaron's going to move these units up to here to cover this. Yeah, here he comes. Yeah, Aaron's on it. He sees the harv. He knows where it has to go, and he's just going to take it out. I think it's the second last harv, and he has one more left. But at this rate, when you're only down to one harvester, and you've got nowhere to really go with it, it's gonna be GG's. Wow, what a game, especially for GVG. It's always interesting to see that play out in the long game. It very much came down to the eco on that one. I think Aaron's just had more awareness in terms of the importance of the economy of the map and trying to use it. I think it's unfortunate because ND actually, I think, would say had the better ref placement with the 3 ref here, 2 ref here, versus Aaron going 4 ref here, but it worked out in Aaron's favor. He went to War Factory, send it, whereas ND was more patient, went the 3 ref War Factory, 2 ref over here, and then when he was attacked he played cool. Actually got some Orca in the mix, and they might have worked. I think the War Factory and Orca placement from ND was partly what kind of cost him this game as well. If you had those in a more defensive position, they might have lasted longer. And then, yeah, when it just came down to the gren exchanges here and here, I think Aaron was just on top of his game, and ND made some bad exchanges. But overall, GG's from both players. It's fun to watch. GG's.
Battle control terminated.